Welcome to Resonance, podcast by Quetzal y Andrade, where we talk about bass, effects, and life things. Well, this is the third foggy day in a row. It never happens. It's super rare, but I'm grateful for the extra hour of morning wake up / commuting time to be able to get to work. Those of you that know, I'm a music teacher at a middle school. That extra hour is just nice, right? To feel like you're not rushing. I actually helped out my wife this morning with taking the kids to school, right? My older two. And so that was a nice way to just kind of be more about the family immediately from the get-go. Let's see. This past week has been crazy. My kids were in a winter camp last week, and so having to do all that was crazy. But everything went well. They enjoyed themselves. And then I had a gig Sunday with the Abella Trio, which was a blast. And I want to focus on that a little bit, just with the idea that sometimes there are things that come up which can be disappointing, which is why I'm titling this podcast Silver Linings, right? The fog sucks, but there's some silver linings to this day and the past 3 days. As I mentioned before, our third man, or one of our three in our trio that we usually roll with for the Abella Trio, could not make Sunday's gig. He was booked somewhere else previously, and so I was like, all right, we're going to play this trio. I'm excited to play. Haven't had a crazy amount of gigs, so really looking forward to it. But then I knew that our keyboardist / singer in the band was not going to be able to make it. And so I was like, oh man, this is going to be different. But I'm excited. Let's meet new people, right? Let's jam out. Let's make lemonade, right? Or even better, something tastier than that. So I get to the gig, set up, and it's a familiar face that I had seen before with some of the bands that I play in, that had frequented some of our shows and said hi, always been positive in the crowd and everything. I didn't know he was a musician. I didn't know he played guitar. And eventually I came to realize that a little before this gig, and I get to the gig, he's already set up. All his stuff is just dialed in. I'm the last one to arrive at the gig. Not late, mind you, but just I'm the last one. But he's already ready to go. His gear's set up, and we start hitting. And of course, even before we do that, we introduce ourselves. It's all positive vibes. And granted, he has been given the list of music, fairly last minute. And so I tell him, hey, if you need any help, any cues, let me know. I'll do the best I can to cover as much ground with my bass, but also with my keyboard. Those of you that know, I like to juggle the piano sounds and the bass if there's no keyboardist. If I can do that and double up, I have a fun time juggling and trying not to fall while doing it. And anyway, for the sake of the music, right, trying to fill up the space. It does limit me in my bass playing part of the time, but definitely makes up for some sort of sonic presentation, right, to the crowd. And again, even on if you're a guitarist, right, having some sort of harmonic accompaniment other than just a root note or bass note can definitely just push you into higher places musically, I would say, or be more inspiring, right, be more helpful and enjoyable, right, just to improvise over. So anyway, he's set up, and we start hitting, and he's killing all the songs. He's just, like, in a good way. He's tearing it up, right? He's sounding great. He's not overly loud. His tone is just right. It's not crazy bottom heavy like how some guitar players can be. And then you're like, man, am I even hearing or feeling my bass? So this guy's tone was great. It was on point. Solos were tasteful, and did very well with all the pieces. And so it was really cool to hear a different musician, meet a new person, have a new musical experience, right? Even within the Abella Trio, and say, this is what it's about. It's about meeting people. Yes, the circles of friends that we usually play with are great and are probably our still number one default preference, but life, right? The silver linings. Things change. Not everyone can always make every single show. Things do happen on occasion where the stars do not align, and yet someone else comes into the mix, and it's such a cool way to validate human interaction. How would you say? New human encounters, right? I think we don't realize what we're missing until we actually experience the new. We experience something new, and suddenly we're like, wow, this is why a risk was worth taking. This is why a chance is worth giving to somebody that, again, we may not even know on a personal level. Maybe we haven't even heard them play musically, but we have some sort of reputation, some sort of recommendation from somebody else that is able to justify their being there. So I was super happy to hear some fresh sounds, meet a new person, some new smiles, right? I think when it's such a positive experience on stage and off stage, that's what's up. I think that makes it all worthwhile. Of course, yeah, missed my guy, my singer/keyboard player that we usually roll with, but this was definitely a great substitute. And it didn't feel like, wow, this is a thorn in our side the whole night. Wow, this is the elephant in the room. This feels so weird. This is so obviously not us. No. It felt very genuine, and yeah, we had a blast. And honestly, my one regret is not having recorded any of the gig. I didn't set up my phone to record like I usually do. Nothing. I was trying to just enjoy the moment, and it was just a weird thing because I always have my phone out at least for one recording or two. Nothing for the books, but definitely was totally living in the moment and enjoying the gig. What else? This week, new bass arrived, and it had been a little over a year of waiting for this custom bass, about a year and 3 months roughly, and I received it. It was a stunning piece of, bass art, call it what you will. I was so excited for this bass. I uploaded it on Instagram and got a bunch of congrats, a bunch of praise for it. Congratulations, super excited for you, blah, blah, blah. I had to send the bass back. Unfortunately, after trying to play it, there was just too many specs that were off to me, and as much as I tried to make adjustments or accommodations, considerations, right? There was too many boxes that were not checked off for me, and again, knowing the builder, knowing the luthier, and the fact that we were friends before he started building basses, our friendship grew when he started building basses, right? Encouraging him and everything, and finally I decided to try to order one from him. It just, again, I felt comfortable enough to say, hey, you know what, these are my genuine feelings and observations on the instrument, and it's just not going to work out. So being the awesome person that Will Talamelli is, he gave me options to make it right? And so sent the bass back the next morning. Again, he definitely took care of me, and yeah, it's one of those things where, a fit that doesn't work at this point in our lives when we've been playing music for so long. I think it's always best to be honest and try to not make something work that isn't feeling right, I would say within a reasonable amount of time. And I put in some hours into this instrument, trying to really explore it and give it a chance. But even so, I really felt like, yeah, if I'm working this hard on a new instrument, regardless of what it is or how beautiful it is, right? Aesthetics are amazing, but that will only go so far. It definitely needs to be something that you're willing to say, hey, I'm not gonna stick with this choice. How can I rectify it? How can I move past it? Because ultimately that will hinder the music, right? If you're so unfocused because of an instrument that's just completely not working for you. And again, I really wish it had worked out, but I'm so glad that I do have the relationship and friendship with Will that I do, and the fact that he's a stand-up guy and was willing to just say, hey, I'm honoring this friendship and this part of business that for him was worth adjusting or fixing, for the sake of, again, doing service, right? To not leave me stuck with an instrument that I was ultimately not going to be happy with or play. And then two, the fact that just adds credibility to him as a person, as a luthier that really does care about what is being created and how it will affect the musician that he's making it for. So I really feel like at the end of the day, and we talked over the phone as well, via text and all that too, the conversations were super edifying. The fact that there are luthiers out there that are not great communicators. Things come up and they are not willing to, I guess, communicate or collaborate and or have this compromise, right? Where they can say, you know what, I am a luthier, but that doesn't mean I am absolutely perfect, and my musician is an artist, but he may not be the word of authority. But where's the middle ground? Where can we meet and say, you know what, this is how you feel, this is how I feel, and is there a way to preserve, if it matters, right, the friendship and or the business relationship? And so at the end of the day, like, it was a very great experience. And like I said, edifying. It makes me definitely hold Will closer to heart, and the fact that I do consider him a friend, not just some sort of off in the distance across the country luthier that I speak to about specifically, bass talk only. Like, hey, I've met his beautiful daughter via FaceTime. He's met my kids via FaceTime, and so there's this understanding that, hey, we are people, we are humans, and we are fathers, and we can talk about food, we can talk about what's going on in our towns, we can talk about the bands, or little philosophical things, right? Which honestly, in communicating with him, we're like, yeah, we should do a podcast. We should do an episode with Will and ultimately talk about bass, yes, but everything that goes into it, right? Ordering an instrument, the building process, post product, delivery, and all of that, and just how this whole experience is definitely one for the books, like one to remember, even though it did not turn out as expected, right? We didn't initially think that, okay, this is the long wait for the instrument not ultimately being the choice that was needing to be made, right? And so I'm gonna figure out. I've never hosted a guest speaker or a podcast interview of any sort, and so that would be something. And obviously, him being out in Connecticut, me being out here in California, it would definitely be something I would need to explore. Totally uncharted territory for me, but I'm excited about exploring that for the sake of, again, just having a good time, and both of us processing more of who we are, what we've done, where we're going, but also to share this with anybody that might be curious as to what it takes to order a custom bass, how the process can or may happen or should happen, and then anything that follows at the end, right? Because ultimately, some may find my music or me an interesting person. If you do, thank you. Or you're just curious about what else is out there, right? And you happen to stumble upon this podcast. It's one of those things where any and every perspective is valid if it resonates with somebody. So again, worth exploring, worth sharing. I'm going to look into that. Let's see. I have a Sade tribute gig in a couple of weeks, January 27th. This Sade tribute concert or show is going to be on a Tuesday, and it's going to be with a band called FYB. I play with FYB frequently, and we usually play covers of various genres. And even though we don't play Sade music in our regular sets, we've all played a couple of the tunes, but now we've been asked to do a Sade tribute, and we're like, heck yes, that challenge, that will be something cool to work on. And we've been doing it, we've been working on it. We have a rehearsal on Tuesday, and then the Tuesday after that is the concert, right, the show. And so super excited. I've played like 2 or 3 Sade tunes over the years, and now looking at a much larger list of tunes has made me really appreciate the music all the more, the bass playing. And again, because it's FYB and because these are guys that I usually gig with, I already know that we're going to give our own little sound and 2 cents. I know improvisation will definitely be happening. And so, again, some liberties will be taken, and we're going to definitely make it our own too, right? We will do the music justice, but we will definitely just not make it another regurgitation of the album music, right? We're definitely going to have a great time. So super excited for this Jazz Tuesdays event, January 27th, Sade tribute show with FYB. So if you're in the area, or if you're not and you're curious and you want to figure out where we are, definitely reach out to me, because I think it's going to be a unique situation. I will definitely have my GoPro set up, try to record some footage, and if possible, definitely share some of that on my IG. And again, more than for anybody else, it'll be like a way for me to archive this moment, right? For me, it would be historic in the sense that I've never done a Sade tribute show. Many of these bass lines I've never looked at or heard before, and so having to learn them, it's a nice challenge. It's a nice way to appreciate some iconic bass work that definitely makes the song what it is. And again, that's just making me more capable. It's a way to stay grounded, like, hey, you didn't know this, but now you know, or you didn't know how this would sound, how this would feel under your fingers, but guess what? Somebody had done it, and they made it sound so good. Can you? Right? And so I think it's not always about copying everybody. It's not always about me just trying to focus on my original music. I think if there's a halfway point, right, where you're being creative, you're being original and or unique in some sort of musical situation, yet again, the other 50% of the time you are embracing art that already exists, right? You're already working on absorbing great music that already exists, because great music is what it is, right? It's going to continue existing. It's going to be continually being heard and or played. For you to be part of that, I think is a blessing, right? It's an opportunity to celebrate what's been done, and again, maybe motivate you, encourage you to then do the same, create some greatness, or explore some new original work of your own, right? You're inspired by somebody's original music. Now you're inspired to create your own, and even if it's not really to mimic it, or maybe it is, it's gonna ultimately come out differently, right? Not all the stars are lined up exactly the same way in your studio or in your life, the way it was back then when whatever record or album you are being inspired by. And so again, everything around us can definitely help us sound like we do, right? My wife asked me the other day, who are you? But it was supposed to be like a philosophical question. She was reading something, and then she prompted the question as a result, and I didn't have time to respond seriously or fully. We were on the go doing something, but I did say, in a cheesy voice, I am the product of, and she goes, oh God, and I get it, because it sounds very, cliche, systematical, but we really are the product of our experiences. Yes, there's definitely some genetic makeup that we can't help but be, but not just a product of our experiences, but also the interpretations of those experiences, right? I think it's the reason why thinking or reflecting is so important. What really did happen? How did that make me feel? How should it make me feel? Can it make me feel different? How do I want to process this? How should I process it? And again, I'm not trying to get into the whole realm of therapy discussion or anything, but I think that's why therapy is important, and why processing, in a sort of therapy session or with a friend, or again, yourself on paper, this monologue right here, I don't know, it's a way to hopefully get the best out of any given situation, good or bad. I'm almost at work, so I feel like this podcast is going to be shortened just a bit. Oh, but I actually do have more time. So even though I'm arriving more closely or more quickly than I expected, definitely still have time to at least hit the 25-minute podcast mark. That's always the goal. So let's see. What was I talking about? Oh, who I am. So I'm definitely a human that is a father, that is a husband, that is a musician. This is a large majority of the conversations or discussions presented here on the podcast. But again, I feel like there are times that you're more one thing or another. I haven't pressed record or recorded in a few days, so I'm definitely itching to do that again. But other things have come up. There's other priorities, right? For example, yesterday evening, I ended up dismantling, taking apart our youngest's baby crib out of his room. He's 3 years old, and we did get him a big boy bed, but we hadn't actually taken the time to dismantle it. Things come up. It's on the to-do list, and finally did it. I did it, and it definitely felt away, right? I definitely had some feelings and thoughts. We're never going to have a crib in the house again. We're never going to have that need, unless some miracle happens, divine justice or whatever, divine intervention. But so no more crib. It's dismantled. It is now downstairs, not in our youngest bedroom, and so that kind of is a visible adjustment, right? It's very apparent, and just knowing that our little one is not a baby anymore, and there will be no more of that type of experience for us, right? It's a little sad, but it's also a way, like a sense of pride, like, wow, our little guy's growing up. We're celebrating all his steps and the fact that he's growing up. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of family things coming up. Sister-in-law stayed with us for a week and a half with her 2 dogs, 2 weeks before that, or 2 weeks ago, should I say. And so there's a lot of moving parts in life, a lot of things that have been coming and going, and definitely distracting me from actually focusing more on music, talking more about music, even on a podcast level, right? I feel like I would like to do these weekly, and I feel like the timing is never consistent, but super excited to share what's to come in the future. Vibe check. Ralph Edwards, he's doing some amazing work in the studio. I actually ended up visiting a new studio downtown Fresno just the other night, which I went to after having gone to a Jazz Tuesday session, again on a Thursday, right? So that's weird. But yes, it was a Jazz Tuesdays event in downtown Fresno yesterday, or last night. And right after visiting that session and dropping off an old instrument, an old Kingston MTD bass that I don't play, that's just not a fit for me anymore, not about it, even though I played that thing heavily for 2 years. I ended up finally letting it go and just giving it away to a friend that needed it, right? He asked if I had an old instrument lying around, and I was like, yeah, definitely. It's better than me just trying to throw it away, or, the timing was perfect. And I want to say that even just the day before, I had mentioned to my wife, yeah, I need to get rid of this thing, sell it, or throw it away, or give it away. And so literally the next day, my friend asked if I had that instrument. I was like, yeah, definitely. Let me get that to you. So I dropped that off at the Jazz Tuesday session again last night on a Thursday, and then found out that this new studio that Ralph and Vibe Check will be recording in it's just down the street, like a minute drive down the street. And so I went, checked it out with Gene, our drummer, and it was super cool, right? Listening to the music being produced through there was, yeah, it sounded amazing. So I'm super excited for Saturday. Gonna record a track in the morning, and so that process, we'll see how long it takes before certain music is out and streamed and officially out there, and hoping that Vibe Check ends up doing some great things with Ralph, right? On some new stages, new audiences. Again, how remote, we'll see about that. And just the fact that we have our Valentine's Day gig February 14th, that'll be an awesome way to also celebrate Ralph, right? And his recent The Voice episode or season 28 successes, right? Just the other day, actually, which is January 15th, he was given some sort of award downtown Fresno by the mayor, and officially made it Ralph Edwards Day. So pretty cool thing. Like the city, the mayor, those of us that are from the area, we're definitely happy for his successes, and are really looking forward to what he's going to do musically. Again, for himself, but in representing the Central Valley here in California. Definitely a huge piece of pride, right? That from all of us, he's becoming all the more iconic in this area. I feel that this is just the beginning. He'll be essentially our our biggest celebrity here. I would like to think or say, and hopefully with that, it doesn't just stay close to the chest for him or the band, but in perhaps ways that the music scene can grow and benefit. I know that a lot of times we just think about ourselves and how our own personal musical careers will thrive or benefit. But I feel like if the whole music scene grows, we all benefit, right? If we have great musical acts and great musical venues, if we have that type of live music scene, we all benefit. And that would be an amazing way for Ralph Edwards and the Vibe Check Band to perhaps have a little more stake in how we do things here locally, right? And we want to go ahead and not just make great music and hit the road and play stages for, everyone else in the world or the country. I think the best way to feel that we've succeeded in playing music and supporting Ralph and showcasing Ralph is by doing it here at home, right? Doing it in our hometown, and in a way that it's not so much about the numbers. I would say it would be more about the culture, right? And the buy-in and the response of those that are in attendance. So I know I'm kind of, spitballing here, but I also feel that the future is bright, and how that future will ultimately look, I'm not sure, but I'm definitely dreaming, definitely thinking big. I'm definitely awaiting more greatness. Um, yeah, I'm here at work, and I am running out of steam here, but super excited that here's another podcast episode. I believe this is episode 12, so I'll definitely try to have this uploaded for you guys in an hour or two. And then again, we're about to hit minute 30, so this is a perfect time to stop. You have a great day, and again, always musically yours.